What if all of your real estate technology tools, even though they're separate tools, what if they could all talk to each other and work together? We're going to talk about that today. Stay tuned. This episode of Keeping It Real is brought to you by Real Geeks. How many homes are you going to sell this year? Do you have the right tools? Is your website turning soft leads into interested buyers? Are you spending money on leads that aren't converting? Well, Real Geeks is your solution. Find out why agents across the country choose Real Geeks as their technology partner. Real Geeks was created by an agent for agents. They pride themselves on delivering a sales and marketing solution so that you can easily generate more business. Their agent websites are fast and built for lead conversion with a smooth search experience for your visitors. Real Geeks also includes an easy-to-use agent CRM. So once a lead signs up on your website, you can track their interest and have great follow-up conversations. Real Geeks is loaded with a ton of marketing tools to nurture your leads and increase brand awareness. Visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod and find out why realtors come to Real Geeks to generate more business. Again, visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod. And now, on to our show. Hello and welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. And in just a moment, we're going to be speaking with Scott Sillari of RealSynch. Before we get to Scott, just a few quick reminders. As always, the best way that you can help us is by telling a friend. Think of another realtor that would benefit from hearing interviews with top realtors, and feel free to send them a link over to either our website, which is keepingitrealpod.com, where they can stream every episode we've ever done, or any podcast app they may be using. Just search for Keeping It Real. Also, if you could hit that subscribe button, we'd appreciate it. And if you'd be kind enough to leave us a review, that would also help us out. All right, let's get to the main event, my conversation with Scott Sillari. Today on the show, our guest is Scott Sillari from RealSynch, and I'm really excited to talk to you, to bring Scott on here in a moment. A little bit about Scott. So Scott Sillari is a seasoned expert in the real estate industry with over 13 years of experience in consulting and coaching. Scott's journey started as a mortgage brokerage as a loan processor, and he quickly expanded his expertise to become a certified home appraiser. Through his tenure at Viral Marketing, Scott honed his skills in growing sales and business development, earning recognition as a speaker and influencer in the real estate space. Now at RealSynch, Scott focuses on business development, growth, marketing, and communications. Scott ensures that RealSynch remains at the forefront of the forefront of providing robust integration options with major applications in the real estate industry. Guys, we're going to talk about this in just a moment. This is a really cool tool. As a residential real estate pro, Scott boasts over 10 years of sales and business development success, having sold marketing and integration services to thousands of real estate teams worldwide. Want everybody to check out RealSynch at their website, realsynch.com. That's RealSynch. So put an H on the end there, realsynch.com. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. Scott, welcome to the show.
DJ, what an intro. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm super excited to be here and, just educate and offer some value to your audience. I'm excited. Thank you.
So thank you. And really, I'm super excited about this because I love products that integrate with other products. And this is what I'm almost, not that I would have ever been able to start this company, but I'm kicking myself for not having the idea. And you and your team obviously have built this incredible platform. And basically, let's just, before we dive right in, let's get a little bit into your background. So I mentioned a little bit about your past, but tell us about how you got started at RealSynch and what are you trying to solve there, and where did you come from?
Yeah. So, we'll kind of start my past at when I got back working with, business, real estate businesses and consulting. I became an executive at Viral Marketing. That's where I kind of spoke to thousands of different clients. And then one of my partners from that, we were talking and had this idea. It was like, man, there's all these new technologies coming out, but there's nothing to connect them. And he had spent almost $1 million on building out Salesforce and realized he still didn't have all the applications and solutions that he needed for his real estate business, because it's not really possible to build this all-in-one solution. And because there's always new technologies coming, you need something that connects. And so we had this idea of, we started looking around, and there's a company called MuleSoft, which I don't know if, people outside of the real estate space have heard of, but they, I think they sold to Salesforce for like $6 billion a couple of years ago. But basically there's these, in other industries, there's these middleware platforms that build API to API integrations, but there was nothing in real estate. You're pretty limited to Zapier. And at the time when we started this, Zapier didn't have a lot of available integrations within the real estate sector in itself, right? It was in a lot of other industries. Now it's expanded and it's an amazing tool. But that's kind of how we got started. We started, traveling around, going to the Inmans and talking to different software companies like Follow Up Boss and Boomtown. I mean, we literally helped Boomtown build their API, because at the time in 2017, 2018, a lot of these technologies, had their solutions that the user's using, but there was no external API. And the API is the way you connect one app to another, right? That's kind of where you fasten the bridge on both sides, right? To
Right.
keep it non-technical. And so we were helping some of these different companies like build out their APIs as we were building out our solution. And then, we specifically were like, you know what? We want to be a residential real estate agent, team, broker solution where we're connecting to just apps that you'd be using to enable your business to automate and grow, right?
Yeah, it's a really amazing idea, because we do this in other areas of our life. If you've ever used if this then that, that's a common one where you can connect lots of different apps together. Mostly not real estate related stuff like social media and other technologies, but that's always a fun one to play with. But this idea that apps can communicate is really important, because you said something that I think every one of our listeners can agree with, probably was nodding their heads, is every tech firm is like, we've got the all-in-one solution. Well, they probably don't, right? Nobody has yet really built the all-in-one solution. So the odds are you probably have multiple different tech providers for your business. You have something for email, you have something for your CRM, maybe you have a different website provider, maybe you have a lead source generator, maybe you have a place you're buying leads from, and you need these systems to really talk to one another. Otherwise, you're logging in and out of all these different systems. I know at our firm here, we have 6 different systems when an agent joins us that we connect them to. Well, nobody wants to log in and out of 6 systems, but that's how it works right now. And so we need a tool like this so that they can talk. So tell us, what does RealSync actually do?
Yeah. So we have our actual SaaS platform is a proprietary integration platform that we built basically to handle data from multiple systems. And then, source and target, send it back and forth, right? Based on certain triggers that happen or certain ways that you work within that system. One of the biggest things that we talk to agents about is like, and you just mentioned it, DJ, is when you bring on a new agent, like there's 6 systems. It's like, man, just to get them to behave in the way that you want to get into the CRM and update it, let alone they have to go then log into 5 different systems and update the same data or make sure they're getting the data out of one or another. It just doesn't happen, right? It's just it's a very complicated thing to, and you don't want your agents really doing that either. I mean, how much time are they wasting having to do that, right? So that's where we fit in is, we go, all right, if you generate a lead to an inbox, rather than having to copy and paste that data, this is a very basic one that a lot of people struggle with still. And I get on the calls all the time is like, we can set up a mail parser for you. So it automates the lead data, basically scrapes the data and puts it in the CRM. And then we can set up automation in the CRM to apply a tag, a follow-up task, we can assign it to a certain agent depending on what you want, or it can be, into a pond or a round robin, depending on how you have your CRM set up. So just that one thing right there, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I can sleep at night knowing my leads are just flowing into my CRM, right? That's just one example. And then you start all the different systems you're talking about, your email, maybe a VoIP or phone solution like, CallRail or DialPad, transaction management, SkySlope, DocuSign, DotLoop, Brokerment, Lone Wolf, like all these different solutions that you may be using. Maybe your broker requires you to use certain solutions and so now you have your own personalized tech stack that you're trying to marry with the broker's tech stack. And it just becomes very overwhelming and complicated. And there's a lot of inefficiencies. And that's where we fit in. Our solutions meant to integrate all these different solutions. Now, we don't integrate to every app. I wish I could say we did right now. But our roadmap is to, as we've been building our new solution, it's much more scalable for us to add applications quickly so that you can come to RealSync and go, oh my God, they have like all 7 of the apps I'm using. And I can click and set up filters and make it all work.
It's even so much cooler than that to me, because and yes, that's a great explanation. I want everybody to do this. Not if you're driving, don't do this right now. But if you're not driving, go to realsync.com and again, RealSynch.com. Go to their integrations and just look at the sheer number of different real estate tech services that they connect with. I guarantee some of your products or services that every one of our listeners use are in here. Even if it's just, I use Google Email, I use Google Calendar, it's in here. Everything. I mean, you say you don't do with everyone, but just about everyone. And if you see a tool that isn't in here, reach out to Scott and his team and they can consider adding it to their platform. But basically, the way I like to think about these tools is you get to let your creativity kind of run wild, because now that these integrations are happening and these systems can talk to one another, I always like to say, wouldn't it be cool if, right? And so that's what this system does. Like, wouldn't it be cool if every time somebody comes in for an open house, that lead that I capture on my tablet or wherever goes automatically into my CRM. It automatically maybe gets an email, maybe there's some text, maybe this is RealSync can connect all the different apps to make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things you mentioned too is if, like, to step back, if you come to our platform and you don't see an app, sure, we may be able to add it, but also we have a services part of our business where we'll just find a solution that already connects with it. Like Zapier is much more expansive now, or Make gets complicated, right? But we can go and just do it for you as well, which is something that I really love that we offer that part of the business, because so many times it's like you have this idea and you're like, man, I wish I can just do this and that. And like, maybe we just haven't created that solution yet, but we can still try to figure it out for you, which is fantastic. And you're right. It shifts the way you think about technology. You start thinking about, what processes do I have in my business that I can maybe add some automation or tech to, knowing that there's a company like ours out there to help you make the connection. Right. Because a lot of times it's just like this idea, but now you can go, you know what, I can actually do it. And so I always tell team owners, instead of just going and grabbing the shiny new technology, step back and think about, like, what's the life cycle from the time a lead is generated until you're putting it on a nurture campaign after it closes. And what do you want to happen? Everything in between, whether it's like internal type of system things or towards the consumer or some of the vendors, that, all that different stuff you can think about, and then go, all right, I need a tech tool for this one part of this process. It probably exists already. We can go find it and add it and connect it,
Yeah. And I also love the fact that your team will also say, hey, we don't have that, but we can give you an idea about how to get this done on make.com or Zapier, or if this then that. There are, and by the way, I subscribed to make.com, and because it was the only one that could do this one thing that I needed it to do. And boy, I would love to have had your services at that time, because it is complicated, and I'm a pretty tech savvy person, and I was struggling. I am still struggling with Make, but it's cool. But these guys, what I love that you do is you have the ability to just take all these tools, get them to talk to one another, and then you as the agent get to figure out, what do you want? You get to design your customer experience, and then leveraging the tools you already have, you're just going to have them talk to one another, so there isn't duplication of effort. You're not going into one system and then another system and another system. Everything's working in sync. But I know you guys are working on a new product too. Can you share anything about your new development? I didn't know if that's under wraps or not.
No, absolutely we can. And to reiterate what you just said too, before I share, like maximizing the tools you have. So many times it's like, oh, I got to go get this other tool, right, DJ? And it's like, well, let's look at how we can make sure that everything's efficient, automated, maximized, and integrated with what you have before you decide to go get a different tool, because you're never really going to know if this tool is perfect for your business or not if you're not using it, right? So I always recommend that as well, but yeah, man, our new solution, I'm so excited about it. So one of the big issues that we've had is the way our original platform was built. It would take us a long time to add another app to the whole suite of apps, right? So anywhere from like 4 to 6 weeks, which is just way too long. It's just impossible to keep up because new technology is coming out like this, right? So we went down this roadmap of, we need to rebuild our common model, how we handle data, so that we can add an application to our entire suite of apps within 2 to 3 days.
Wow.
Which is what we're doing. What we're doing now when we release the new app. So very exciting. So what it's going to do is, that integration page you see right now is going to, that's going to turn from that to, 150, 200 apps over the next year very quickly. So that really we can say, hey, we connect to everything that a residential real estate company, broker, agent would need in their business. Right. And then while we were doing that, we were looking and going, you know what? Like, we're aggregating all this data. How do we help give actionable insights to our clients that are connecting to our platform?
Yeah. So
we built our own app, RealSync app, to where you can connect to Follow Up Boss or a Sierra or a Boomtown, hopefully a Brivity. Sync's going to be one of our partners. Keller Williams, Command's going to be one of our partners. Like, we have all these different partners lined up, just waiting for us to enable them. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to see what's happening in your business from an agent activity perspective, a volume and sales perspective, a lead source ROI perspective, and just all of that comprehensively, and then give you actionable insight to identify like where the holes are. Where do you need to make improvements? What's actually going on in your business? Because I've talked to all these different CRMs, and the one thing that they are willing to admit is their reporting is not great with a lot of these solutions. So we're going to bring it all in where you can connect not just CRM, but transaction management. You can connect the lead gen solutions. You can connect QuickBooks Online, like all these different accounting solutions. So all of this data is aggregating, and then we're breaking it down and showing you what is most important so you can make those decisions.
Yeah, I love that. So you're not just facilitating the communication from one app to another, which is amazing, and automating a lot of manual processes that we're doing now. But now you're saying, hey, by the way, since we're passing all this data back and forth, let's go ahead and figure out a way to give the end user, the realtor, some reasons, some insight into this data that they can use to actually further the relationships they have with their clients, or, and so I love this. Does AI play any role in some of the data analysis? Is AI going to give people like some reason to say, hey, we noticed this thing, we want you to reach out for this reason?
Yeah. So initially, no. I feel like people just use the term AI when it's not really AI. Like, there's a lot of, if then type data where we're looking at ratios and what they should be. And so we're going to get a lot of insight like that, and notifying the owner, like, hey, your conversion for this particular agent from the time they meet an appointment to signed is much lower than the industry average. And then eventually we'll have our own averages as we're aggregating data, right? part of our roadmap, though, is to add in some AI solutions. I can't really get into that too much, but it's going to help you facilitate taking action, which is the
Yeah.
biggest thing
Yep.
that people get stuck on is like, hey, all of a sudden I gave you like, hey, there's these 20 leads that haven't been touched that came in and haven't been touched in the first 24 hours. You should probably call them.
Yeah.
And then the agent's like, I don't have time. And then they can maybe hit a button and we do the calling for them. Something like that, right?
Wow.
It's kind of
really cool.
the roadmap that we're going. But that would be, I think, we're talking, there's a lot of phases. So that'd be something early next year, maybe. But like, that's kind of the idea where the actionable insights we're giving you, we can also do it for you. And that's the
wow.
Yeah.
Well, even just getting the actionable insights is incredible, because if I'm an agent and I'm wearing every hat that I have to wear because I'm a business owner, I'm also, the agent, I'm also my own marketing team, I'm my customer service team, and, everything else that realtors do, psychologists sometimes, they play a lot of different roles, and it's tough and it's hard and it's not always easy to take a step back and analyze this data. And by the way, the same skill set that's good at interpersonal effectiveness, like the person to person, eyeball to eyeball stuff, is not the same skill set that's good at interpreting data, right? Like those are two very different skills and usually different personality types. So you might be really great at, I'm the face-to-face person, everyone I meet loves me and wants to hang out with me, but I don't really have a good sense of what my close ratio is, or what my appointment to list ratio is, or, how many people do I have to meet next year that I don't yet know to hit my goals. You have tools that will actually be able to interpret this data and give you actionable insights of like, hey, we noticed this. And that, I think, is so super cool.
It's super exciting, DJ. We're so stoked about it. We've been working on it for about a year. And also like with that team owner you just mentioned, like a lot of times it's very tough to put on a sales manager hat if you've hired some agents too. And especially if you're in production still, man, it's just so many different jobs, right? And technology can really help if you add the right tools, right? And you understand where you need to pull the levers. And I think a lot of times there just isn't that visibility. And that's what we're trying to solve, is that like you're adding these different solutions, but you don't know how to maximize them. You don't know if it's really something you need. You're just adding it because someone else told you to use it. And you may not know if it's even helping your business. We really want to give you a really good visibility into your own business through the window where you can see everything happening and go, oh, I should pull that lever.
Yeah.
That lead source here is going to give me more return. This thing, you know what I mean? And things like that, where it's like very, we're coming from a place where we've, my business partner runs a huge real estate team, and, a lot of insight from them, but a lot of insight from our great clients that we've worked with on like what they're looking for. And we're trying to really bring that to the table. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm kind of going through a process like this myself, and I think our audience can relate to this. So I recruit realtors as my day job. That's what I do here at Kale Realty. And one of the things that's always been a challenge for us is there aren't a lot of good recruiting realtor solutions. There just aren't. There's a few, but there's not very many players in the space, and which is kind of surprising. But anyway, we ended up going for our CRM for our recruiters, not for our agents, just our people who recruit realtors. We went with Zoho because they're very open. They have a big open platform. It's really very impressive. And then I wanted to connect all of my other apps to Zoho, and Zoho is pretty flexible with that. I will tell you, it is so, and this is not a knock at Zoho, it's just how integration is so complicated. It is so difficult for me to integrate all of my different apps with Zoho. I cannot tell you the sheer amount of hours I have put in to get my VoIP system with texting in there, my Calendly, which is how I schedule appointments, in there. It's not that easy. And I love that you guys make it easy, because I needed something like this. Sadly, it was before I met you, but I cannot tell you and everybody can relate to this. Even guys, even if you're just thinking, how do I connect my Google account to X, to this other product I have, to Real Geeks or whatever CRM. Yes, there's ways to do this. RealSync can even help you just sync up your calendar even. So I'd love to know about any use cases that you've seen. Do you have any fun success stories to talk about agents who are using the product or teams that are using it or brokerages to help, become more effective or efficient?
Yeah. So I'll give you a couple. So one is one story use case, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, but my client, longtime friend, Misty Solwich, she's out of, I think, Des Moines. I hope she is. And I just said the wrong city. That'd be hilarious. But no, Misty's a good friend. And when she came and I started working with her, a lot of what we worked on was just like, she was generating leads from like HomeLight and UpNest and like Referral Exchange and Ojo and OpCity. And just like, it was a disaster in her inbox. And we started with just, parsing those leads for her and working on that. Right. And getting them into her CRM. And then we started working with her about like, all right, well, what do you want to do with this when it comes in? And she realized that like, there was all this automation and like workflows that she can be putting into place now that she was getting the lead, because it was such a chore just to get the lead manually in there. She never thought through what the next steps were going to be. Right. And I remember getting on a phone call with her a few times after we had spoke, and she's like, Scott, now when I look at my business, I look at it completely differently. Every time I look at anything that's happening, I think about how can I automate it? How can I integrate it? Does it fit into what my process is? And I think it's just a really good example of like, once you kind of go through this, I know it sounds tedious sometimes to do some of this stuff, but it really can benefit you as you go through it as an owner and you start thinking about the way to use these technologies differently and what it can do for the journey of the customer as well, and you've gone through it, setting up Zaps and Make, and you understand that like it's very complicated, but it's probably given you really good perspective on what you can do to make things seamless in your business, So that was one really great example.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I've tried to automate. I don't know about you, Scott. I'll have to ask. I've only found that routines and having a process are really the only things that work for me in life, as far as like running my personal life, my business life.
Yeah.
This podcast, I have to have repeatable and trustworthy systems, because for example, if I leave lunch even up for like debate, like if I don't bring a lunch to the office one day, I am likely to make a poor decision. So if I bring a lunch, I'm more likely to eat that particular lunch, and that just is what works for me. So I want everybody who's listening to think about things like that, in inefficiencies in your business model. Are you maybe you're dropping the ball on staying in touch with people. Maybe you're dropping the ball on follow-ups. Maybe you're dropping the ball on not looking at your business stats. Maybe you're just, think about, you're dropping the ball somewhere. Everybody drops the ball. So think about places to which you're like, I'm not really good at that, or I wish I could do this. Oh, I wish this system could do this with that system. That's where Scott and his team can come in. And it's really fun because you can really let your imagination run away with you and realize that you can use these different systems together. And I think that's the most exciting thing.
Totally. And I'll give you another example. That's the outside the box one. Is we've been consulting and working this the Adam Briley team and Kobe Sway and their and they came to me and they're like, hey, like, man, like our mortgage brokers need this lead data too. And we can't seem to find like a good mortgage broker solution to integrate with. Like, if we just get them a second Sierra account, can you guys like connect the two Sierra accounts? And I was like, yeah, probably. So we looked into it and we integrated two Sierra Interactive sites, one for the mortgage brokerage, which was under their umbrella. I think they own that brokerage, right? And then one for the real estate team. So then we can trigger all the data from one to the other and then back. So everyone's visible on what's happening with the lead. And there's no like sending, get pre-approved to a seller. You know what I mean? And like so all of the data is visible for the agent that's assigned and the broker, the loan officer that's assigned, right? And so that was a really unique use case. But they had been working with us. They're already always thinking outside the box. Like, how can we just make things easier? Because it's a big pain right now getting the leads over to our mortgage team. And there's lots of miscommunication, right?
And if, for anyone listening that thinks, well, this sounds like, how much does this cost? It's actually ridiculously affordable. So this is not an expensive solution. I want to make sure that everybody understands this. Like, their lowest tier is like $1 a day. Like, that's literally how inexpensive this is, because what it's really doing, it's connecting apps together. They're in charge of that. They're going to control and make sure the data is syncing. And you guys get to think about, what else can I do with this information? Like, what can I do to make my business more automated? If you have repeatable systems and, and measurable and reliable systems, they have to talk to one another. They just do. Otherwise, it's too much human effort and too much human error. So what you're really trying to do is eliminate the opportunity for human error. And we are imperfect. And it's important that we remember that, especially in our real estate business. There are things we're good at and there are things we're not good at. This is an opportunity to fill in the holes a little bit of maybe something you're not strong in by connecting apps together. And I know we're sort of talking about it from a high level perspective, but there are so many ways you can use these tools to really make sure that your leads don't fall through, that you don't miss out on lead opportunities. And then again, with this new sort of actionable insights that are coming in shortly, that's going to be really exciting, because you're going to have actually things that you're going to encourage people to do, or maybe even do for us. What are other ways in which people can use RealSync to just make a minor change in their business that would help them?
So I would say one of the ones that we have a lot of people that still are signing up constantly that hear about it is just Google Contacts. Yeah. And really, it's your phone.
Yeah.
So you add someone into your phone, instead of being like, now I got to go put it in here and here and here and here.
Yep.
We can automate it from your iPhone or your Droid phone right into for the CRMs that are on our platform right now. Obviously, that's going to expand as we release the new app. But Sierra, Fall Boss, Boomtown, and Real Geeks, and basically, as long as you have an email or you put a fake one in there, if you just have their name and phone number, it will automate a new lead into your CRM, and then you can decide what you want to do with that lead, because the lead source is going to come in as Google or Google Contacts. Then you can have automation workflows set up for that person, right? So I think that's a very simple one, but it's like, it is.
It's very powerful. It's such a perfect example, because it's exactly what every one of us struggles with when we get a new contact and we're meeting somebody in person. Maybe we're at a cocktail party, or we're doing a social event. We're not like in our business, and somebody goes, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying or selling, in the next year or so. Stay in touch." And you're like, "Okay, let me get your information." You get excited. You're going to want to put them as a contact in your phone. And then you got to go, okay, now I got to remember when I get home to take it out of my phone, drop it into Real Geeks or whatever CRM I'm using as well. And now I need to make sure I send them a welcome email and all of that. This can all be done for you. Once you put it in the phone, it can start that workflow automation.
Imagine if you're standing in front of them, you put it into your phone, and then the phone dings within 5 seconds with a welcome you.
Love it.
Right? I mean, it goes back to like, what are consumers used to, DJ, right? Instant. Like, we're used to going on to Amazon and like just clicking and being like, oh, I just bought this thing, is coming tomorrow. I don't have to do anything else. You know how simple that is? Do you know how complicated it probably is in the back end?
Incredible.
Right? But the user experience is so simple. That's what people expect now, because that's what's happening on the consumer side when it comes to like retail and buying stuff, right?
Yeah, I love that too, because I love the instant part of that, because not only is it great because we're used to, we're living in an instant sort of world now, but also it's a great way to validate that the information's accurate and that they're seeing it. Like if you have it automatically sending a welcome email, for example, a text, obviously they're going to get an alert, but you could say, hey, do me a favor. You're going to get an email from me. I just want to make sure it doesn't hit your spam folder. If it does, let's pull it out. You could literally do that within seconds of standing in front of the person. And this is a great way to do this. And again, all you've done is grabbed your phone, gone to your contacts, whether it's Android or iPhone, and you've literally entered them in and put them their information. Again, you have to set this up, but setting it up is really that's what RealSync is going to do for you.
Yeah. So this one's an out of a box integration too. You can literally do it. Click, click, click. It's pretty straightforward, but we also can help you set it up. But yeah, I mean, if you're using an iPad or a tablet or any of that stuff, right? Also, like if you decided that you're using a form where you want to get more data, not just put the contact in, like if you're at an open house, like you mentioned earlier, you know, we can integrate any form, like a Wufoo form or Google form or Cognito forms, like all these different forms that are custom. You can get all that data into the CRM and still kick off that welcome email the same way, right?
Yeah. So right now, when I do, I'll do like webinars and things, and I get this list, this CSV file of here's all the people that attended, right? And then I have to drop it into something else because I want to send them a text thank you, and then I have to drop it in another system to send them an email thank you. And I would love to just have something go here. I see all of the people in your Google Sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and run this automation on my own, and it's going to just happen automatically. That would save me. It saved me a lot of time, actually. So
possible right now, not through our platform, but we could set up for you through Zapier. We just did something ourselves where any lead we get now, whether it's website or anywhere else, comes into our HubSpot, and then that triggers our simple texting solution that we integrated.
Yep.
And then that sends the text automatically. And then we send our contact record with our logo to save, just like you would do when you're like buying something online, right? We have all that set up, and it's possible to do. You just got to know where to look for it, right?
Well, and again, you just have to really dream and bring your dream to RealSync and say, could we do this? And if they can't do it, they might be able to build it. Or if they can't do it, they're nice enough to say, we know where you can go to get this done. Guys, Absolutely. This is, I even if you've never used products like this, services like this, you really need to. There is so much value here, and this will help automate. You want things talking to one another, right? And everybody. So here's what I want everybody listening to do. If you own your own brokerage, reach out to RealSync, see if they can integrate your tools. If you don't own your own brokerage, most of our listeners don't, talk to your managing broker and say, hey, we have all these different systems. I heard about this tool that integrates these systems, and they talk to one another, and we can do some cool stuff with it. And it's not that expensive, which is going to be news or it's going to be great for the person to hear, because it's not an expensive solution. It's a very powerful and inexpensive solution. And have them reach out to RealSync and see if, again, it's going to help the brokerage, because it's going to make the brokerage be more appealing to other agents, and retention is going to improve as a result. I'm a recruiter, guys. I will tell you one of the biggest reasons why people leave brokerages. There's a couple reasons. One is support. Well, RealSync doesn't really solve for that. That's, face-to-face or voice-to-voice thing. But I have all these different systems, and I don't love that I have all these different systems. That is a huge reason why people leave. And this is a solution that can solve for that. So you don't want people leaving the brokerage for that reason. So this is a great way if you're a brokerage owner or a team, and you won't want people leaving your team. You want to make it so easy for them to stay connected. This is the way to do that. Scott, I am so thankful that you came on our show. I'm as excited as you about this. Well, not as excited. This is your business, but I am so thrilled that this even exists, because I have been wanting this in the real estate field for a long time, and it hasn't existed up until now. So I really appreciate you building this, and the sky is the limit, guys. This is really, really cool stuff. RealSync.com is where you go. Again, RealSynch.com, and check it out. Pricing is it's almost free, guys. You realize to sign up for this. Sign up, test it out, reach out to Scott, and then let us know what integrations you're using. I'd love to know what you're possibly doing to help your different systems communicate more effectively, and let us know, and we can bring Scott back on a future episode. But Scott, on behalf of our audience, wanted to thank you for coming on today. RealSync is By the way, we almost never feature tech solutions on the show because I'm never usually not that impressed with tech solutions. This one I'm impressed by. I know it probably
I
sounds
really
like I'm doing
appreciate that. Very grateful for you having me on, because I know I'm not normally you're interviewing different types of people. So I appreciate it very much.
Well, it probably sounds like I'm doing a commercial for you, and the truth is I'm not. You're a guest, but the reason why I had you on was I was so excited about this product, this service, that I was like, we got to get him on the show, because if this is what I think it is, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. So even if it's not totally clear right now in your mind as you're listening how this may benefit you, go there. Do it. You can sign up for free. There's no
Yep.
no real risk. Go and just start looking at what they integrate with. Reach out to them and they'll give you ideas of ways you can integrate your stuff, and it'll make you more effective and efficient. So on behalf of our audience, Scott, thank you for coming on our show today. Really excited to continue to watch the new improvements that you're making and the new rollouts, and with the business insights and all of that coming in the future. But right now, even is amazing time-saving integration. So if you need time-saving integration, RealSync is where you go, realsync.com. Also, on behalf of Scott and myself, I want to thank our audience for sticking around to the end. Really, I could not be more in favor of this kind of tool. So please check it out. Really, I think will help everybody's business, and it's super affordable. So what could be better than that? So Scott, on behalf of everyone, thank you. And on behalf of Scott and myself, thank you to the audience. We just ask you to do one quick thing before you leave. Please tell a friend about our show. Think of one other agent that could benefit. By the way, any team needs to hear this episode, any team, because they have systems, and systems are the biggest challenge with any team. So send this over to them, but just think of one other agent that is really struggling right now. And guess what? Most agents are. It's a tough time. This is a solution that can help them struggle less. So reach out to them. Scott, thank you. And
Thank you.
we'll see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.